Welcome to another episode of the crazy world of cyber compliance, threats, attacks, oh my. Cyber criminals beware, there's a new bird in town taking a BYTE out of you. Every episode, your host Michele Novack breaks down the latest cyber threats, attacks, and compliance shakeups happening right now. From ransomware to phishing schemes, we keep it real, keep it current, and yes, we keep it fun. So buckle up, because in this world, the cardinal always wins.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back. Always love that introduction. Welcome back to the crazy world of cyber compliance, the only podcast where we can talk about audit spreadsheets without dying a little inside. I'm your host, Michele Novack. Listen, if you think compliance rules are static museum pieces of work that you dust off once a year to impress an auditor, today is going to be a massive splash of cold water wake-up call in your face. We're talking about the tectonic shifts completely rewriting enterprise IT governance and how it impacts small businesses and mid-sized businesses as well. The evolution of the COBIT framework. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, Michele, COBIT is just an enterprise word salad, hold on. Right. COBIT is the granddaddy gold standard that Fortune 500's global banks and auditors use to make sure IT actually serves the businesses instead of burning money in the server room. But COBIT has changed and eliminated the old, dusty check-the-box playbook, and we are here now looking at the era of agile, dynamic governance. So today we're going to break down what these structural changes actually mean, why they're hitting big enterprise companies like a freight train, and here's the kicker. How the radioactive fallout is about to land squarely on the lap of every mid-market business and small business vendor in their supply chain. So grab your coffee, lock your screen, and let's dissect the madness, as I like to say. So let's talk about the old ways versus the new ways, right? The legacy nightmare. The classic compliance audit was a rear view mirror exercise. Every 12 months, an auditor would drag out a 500-row Excel spreadsheet out of the basement, ask you if you patched your servers last June. You lie or scramble to find the evidence. They stamped it, and everyone would go back to ignoring security. And that's the truth. We see it today. People are overwhelmed by the mandates. They're overwhelmed by the rules. They're dying to keep up. You know, there's apps, building stuff, but it doesn't work, right? The modern COBIT paradigm, COBIT shattered this concept. Modern governance isn't a static checklist anymore. It's built around design factors, and that's what you need to understand, right? The teaching moment here is, what is a design factor? It means governance is no longer one size fits all. COBIT explicitly forces enterprises to build a customized governance system based on their actual threat landscape, risk profile, and tech stack, especially around fast-moving techs like generative AI, cloud-native deployments, and serverless architects. If your risk profile changes tomorrow because you adapted a new LLM to, your governance must adapt immediately. And that's what COBIT actually enforces now. So what's the problem? You see the enterprise pressure points. Enterprises are being hammered by regulatory bodies, the SEC disclosure rules, NIS2 in Europe, DORA for finance, right? They can't rely on static PDF signed 6 months ago. It's no longer valid. Boardrooms are demanding continuous risk evaluation, and that's the truth. If an enterprise auditor asks, is your IAM policy enforced right now across all cloud instances, a screenshot from March won't cut it. Right? That's static. They need dynamic, data-backed proof. Audit trails, immutable audit trails, right? Designed from your enterprise from the beginning to end. You've got to prove it now. That's what governance is all about. It's no longer static. Governance is about proving what you say you're doing and actually showing that you're doing it. And I teach this all the time because in my world, in my company, it's very hard to get that message across and make people understand what cybersecurity is all about and what it takes to really align on that front. So, how does this impact small businesses or mid-sized companies? Well, the big lie SMBs tell themselves, right? A lot of SMBs, I'm just a 40-person accounting firm, a 100-person logistic provider. COBIT is for enterprise giants. I don't need to care. Well, that's not true, right? The brutal truth, enterprise risk is like water. It flows downhill. When a Fortune 500 company is mandated by COBIT to maintain continuous risk management, they are required by those exact same controls to monitor their third party vendor ecosystem. So, again, you may have a software, or you may be a vendor of one of these larger enterprises, and now they're monitoring you. So, think about that. You are their attack surface. 60%, if not more, of enterprise breaches happen through third-party vendors. And we know that. We see it all the time. There was just a third-party breach with, Stryker not too long ago, right? There was a third-party breach with EY. Like, even though those were internal phishing and problems that were internally designed, there's still third-party breaches that can happen to those companies. And that affects you. Right? You need to understand that. Remember the Target and the Novack contractor, right? That was a big one. So when the enterprise shifts to continuous governance, they send down 80-page vendor risk assessment questionnaires demanding to know how your real-time security posture works. If you're not capable of completing one of those questionnaires, or you have no idea how to answer them, then you're at risk of losing your vendor relationship with these larger enterprises. And that's the truth of the matter. At Cardinals, we walk through it. We teach you how to answer those questions. We help you build that baseline because it's important that you understand it. If you haven't seen my webinar on vetting your own third-party vendors, you should go and take a look at it. It's free. Find it, look it up, search it online. Because at the end of the day, everyone now is required to vet their vendors. And this is just a trickle-down effect. What's the penalty of slowness and how much is it going to cost you? Well, enterprises are quietly firing vendors who rely on slow manual compliance. And that's the truth of the matter. We know this, right? If you're not innovative, forward, future thinking, you're going to be left behind. They're going to go with a newer vendor that has the compliance and the protocols and the governance in place, and that leaves you with a loss of ROI and money. And bottom line, it will hit your bottom line. So you need to understand it. If an enterprise procurement asks for a SOC 2 mapping, ISO status, and real-time evidence of backup testing, and your answer is, give us 3 weeks, we need to gather files manually, you just lost that contract. I'm telling you straight out. People don't want to wait. We're in the age of technology and AI-driven things. If you don't have these things in place, then you need to reevaluate or hire somebody to help you reevaluate your entire structure and set you up so you can compete and stay relevant. A competitor who can't hit export and send a real-time risk validation report in 5 minutes, they're going to get the deal, right? Those are the people who are going to win. Compliance isn't back office burden anymore. It's now sales accelerator tool. So understand that. Understand how it impacts your bottom line, right? And I teach this. There's a lot of, framework soup chaos, I like to call it, right? I call it the soup chaos for a lot of reasons. Business owners and CISOs are drowning in the alphabet soup. If you've listened to my podcast before, you know this. COBIT is governance. NIST CSF 2.0 for security. IRS Pub 4557 if you touch financial tax data. FTC safeguard rules if you handle consumer credit. HIPAA for health data. And CMMC if you touch defense. right? And it goes on and on and on and on. Trying to manually map daily IT operations across 5 different frameworks in a separate spreadsheet is a recipe for insanity, burnout, and massive security blind spots. If you are not using a tool, an automated tool, or a platform on your enterprise or your systems, you're losing out. You're wasting massive amount of time, energy, and money. I'll tell you that right now. When I have an intelligent platform that deploys your WISP and your compliance and your documents in a matter of minutes, right? And hours versus weeks and days and reviewing. These are things you still need the governance and oversight to, right? And your teams still need to look at what's being produced. However, it makes it a lot easier because it's all containerized in one place. And that's what you should be focused on. Finding a vendor for yourself that helps you do that. Trying to manually map daily IT operations, again, is so confusing, and it takes hours and hours and hours. Eliminate the process. Get yourself compliant. Here's the dirty secret of cybersecurity frameworks. 80% of them are asking for the exact same core controls, just so you know. So think about that. I work across 13 cybersecurity frameworks, and there's a lot of overlap between those frameworks. NIST calls for PR, AC1, FTC safeguard calls for access controls, HIPAA calls for 1.64.312A1, and COBIT calls for DSS 05.04. They all are literally telling you the same thing. Restrict access to authorized users and enforce MFA. That's all it means. That's the dirty down of it, right? But manual tracking makes you do the work 5 times separately. Because again, you have to define your cybersecurity posture. You have to define the framework that you're going to work against for your business, your industry, and then use that framework to the fullest extent and execute on it, right? Because it looks like an unsurmountable mountain, SMB leadership experiences analysis paralysis, right? Because I work with a lot of small businesses and mid-sized businesses with less than 100 employees, I see this all the time. They get overwhelmed and they become analysis paralysis. And what does this mean? And how do we do it? And, where do we go to find this information? How do I map all my assets? How do I find out all my network, my infrastructure, my routers, whatever it might be, right? It's very simple if you understand the process, right? You get paralysis. Then they do nothing. They rely on security through obscurity. We say it all the time. This is a well-known fact in the cybersecurity world. Until they get hit with an audit fine, or they lose a $2 million enterprise contract, or even worse, they suffer from a ransomware outbreak that wipes them out. Just had a client. Shut them down, right? 27 people, law firm, shut them down, ransomware. And to boot, they had no backup in place. That's the bigger problem here, right? Again, these are things that are easily fixed if you care. As leaders of your company and organizations, you are the ones who provide that directive. If you don't care enough about it, nobody else is going to. This exact fragmentation and trickle-down pressure is why we built Cardinal Spots, right? You shouldn't have to hire an army of $500 an hour compliance consultants just to translate enterprise jargon into daily tasks. It doesn't have to be that way. Cardinal Bytes ingest your daily IT telemetry, configurations, and operational data in once. Our intelligent engine automatically maps a single piece of evidence across every relevant framework simultaneously, whether it's NIST, IRS Pub, FTC, ISO, could be anything, SOC 2. We collect it once and satisfy many. And that's the important thing here. That's what your ultimate goal is as a small business and a mid-sized business, to keep you relevant and keep you as a vendor and not lose those contracts. We kill the annual panic audit, right? Cardinal Bytes gives you a living, breathing dashboard that continuously validates your controls, letting you catch gaps before an auditor or hacker does, because it's out there, it happens. When your biggest client sends that dreaded 200 questionnaire, third-party risk assessment asking you how do you align with updated security baselines, You don't panic. You click a button, pull immutable, verify audit reports, and hand it to them in minutes. You go from risky vendor to trusted partner before lunch. And that's the aim here, right? That's what we're talking about today. Having you understand what it is that it takes and the changes and what these are doing to impact you is critical, right? Look, compliance isn't going anywhere, and the big players aren't going to lower the bar for you. The choice is simple: adapt to continuous automated compliance or get left behind while the competitors steal your contracts. And that's the truth of the matter. You can head over to Cardinal Bytes right now, schedule a 15-minute demo to see how we can take the pain, the manual spreadsheets, and snark out of the multi-frame compliance. If you enjoyed today's reality check, hit the subscribe button below, leave a 5-star review, and share this episode with fellow business leaders who still are managing their security on a prayer and an Excel spreadsheet. Until next time, stay secure, stay compliant, and keep your head above water in this crazy cyber world. Right? Remember, the compliance landscape isn't slowing down, and frameworks like COBIT are proving that enterprise expectations are trickling down faster than ever. If you won't and want to keep your big clients and scale your business safely, manual compliance is no longer an option. So stop letting framework fatigue paralyze you and your growth. Head over to cardinalbytes.com right now, click on compliance partner link, and schedule a 15-minute diagnostic call. Let's look at your current tech stack and show you how easy it is to automate your security shield. Thanks again for joining. Have a great day.